Hey everyone, how are you doing? It's been quite long since the last time when I was doing my first review for Darkness Within. And today I'm here to make my review for Warrior's latest book, The Place of No Stars. But before beginning, I must warn you that there will be spoilers, of course, so if you haven't read the books and doesn't want to be spoiled, you should leave like right now. I give you 3 seconds. So let's start from where last book had left us. Shadowsight, or the leaders, as I have said, had let Ashfur escape. After this one had let Shadowsight so that Bramblestar's spirit was still alive, for our biggest happiness. Meanwhile, Rootspring and Bristlefrost had convinced Squirrelflight to let the leaders kill Bramblestar's body in order to stop Ashfur, even though it wouldn't have affected Ashfur that much since he was a spirit, and this book showed us how powerful Ashfur is even as a spirit. Anyway, the book had ended on Ashfur running Squirrelflight into the moonpool, making both bodies disappear in the dark forest, somehow. So, The Place of No Stars started immediately from where Darkness Within had left us a few months ago. We have Squirrelflight's point of view in the prologue to make us know that she is in the dark forest and that there could be a way to save Bramblestar. Yippee! The first few chapters are not very interesting since it's just exposition on what is going to happen in this book. But before I move on, I want to give 2 honorable mentions. First, to Flipclaw, who came back. Say hello to him because it's the only time we will see him in this book. And to Lionblaze, who I particularly thanks with all my heart for saving us from another traveling book. It's the only thing he's gonna do in this book when he's supposed to be a leader. Really, Lionblaze, you're really not capable of doing anything great. Sorry, after all, it's not like I was expecting something great from Lionblaze. Anyway, then all leaders decide to send someone in the dark forest, so who are they sending? Answer A, Shadowsight, who's already been in the dark forest and must know how to handle the whole thing. Of course, he could go with a warrior so that the warrior can defend Shadowsight if anything's happened to him. Answer B, Rootspring, who has supernatural powers the author seems to have forgotten and will probably remember for the last book. Answer C, any ancient Dark Forest apprentices who's used to fight in there. No, and no! Instead of those obvious choices, they decide to send Willowshine. Because she has no links with Squirrelflight and Ashfur. And so Ashfur can kill her if he doesn't know who she is and if he has nothing personal against her. Like, he has not been doing that in the previous book, and even in Power of 3. Plus, Shadowsight tried to ram them, but apparently they don't care about the mind of the cast that must know Ashfur the best, since he was the one who was taking care of Ashfur. So Willowshine dies, which makes Rivoclone Medicine Catless, hoping there won't be any short of battles. Well, although it was pretty stupid to send Willowshine all alone, the scene was actually good with a little creepy touch that was well executed. By the way, we'll come back to the creepy atmosphere later. Then, Shadowsight, who seemed to be the only character to have more than 2 brain cells, decided to enter the Dark Forest, despite Tigerstar had forbidden him to go, but really, Shadowsight never really listens to his dad in this arc. Like, how many times did he do something that Tigerstar had forbidden him? Anyway, so Mosswing apparently decided to stop being a jerk and out of characters and shapes Shadowsight to enter into the Dark Forest. Oh, and meanwhile, Greystripe comes back and the whole ThunderClan decides to make him the leader. Despite he just left his clan, despite he was not even deputy or appointed by their dear Starkland, and despite his age. There is just so many things wrong with Greystripe being a leader. By the way, I just love Tigerstar's reaction. But at least we can salute ThunderClan's intelligence for changing Lion Blaze, even if Ivy Pool would have been a much better choice, or, Mouse Whisker. Also, I just love the relationship between Greystrap and Bristlefrost. First, because I love how Greystrap estimates Bristlefrost as the young but capable warrior she is, or she should be represented as. And second, because this relationship is the only development Bristlefrost got in this book. Talking about Bristlefrost, can somebody tell me what she did during this book? Except at the end, even when she's not doing anything special or great, she spent the whole book at the Moonpool, wondering about if she loves the root spring enough to leave her clan. And the problem is that we already knew the answer, because it's obvious. Like, it's clearly obvious that Rootspring or Bristlefrost are going to leave his clan or her clan so that they can be together and have kids, and so that they don't break the code, because breaking the code is bad. Anyway, she stays in the Moonpool and doesn't even come back to her camp. Well, she should be, so that her reflection about her love for Rootspring could be better brought up and developed. Even 2 chapters in ThunderClan's territory would have been enough. But here, I just have the impression she's doing nothing. The only thing about Bristlefrost that was actually relevant in this book was our discussion with Ivypool, which was good because it was something we were all waiting for. We all wanted to see Bristlefrost interact with her family, especially Ivypool, who had been a main character. But we only got that in the 5th book, which is late. Really, it's really late. We all wanted to see Ivypool earlier. And we also wanted to see Fansong, who had promised Ivypool he would be like the kid's second mother. But we never got that. Well, yes, we actually got that, but like once in Lost Stars. So it's not actually, so it doesn't really count for me, sorry. So the discussion was good because Ivypool was seeing Dogwing inside Bristlefrost, while she was seeing a lot of obvious things that we wanted her to see and to talk about with her dogs. But the problem is still here. It happens in the 5th book, where it could have happened like in Darkness Within or in Veil of Shadows. But again, I think the heroines just forgotten that Ivypool was a mother and only remembered it when writing this book, and they must have think that they should at least add a family scene, so they add this scene. Bristlefrost's characters really disappoint me. I'm not going to lie to you. I used to really like her at the beginning of the Broken Code. She was really special. Well, not as special as Shadowsight and Rootspring, because of course she hasn't powers, and I think it was what was making her special. But here, she's just a simple Rootspring. Like, really, she only thinks about him. She doesn't even think about her clan and her friends. Like, she doesn't think about Spotfur. Anyway, I'll come back to Spotfur later. So yeah, she really disappoints me. She had a lot of potential, but as usual, Warriors wasted the potential. And it's really bad because we're left with Bristlefrost being just a generic character, while she's a protagonist that had a lot of potential. And it's very sad, very, very sad. But let's hope that next book will do better and finally give some development to Bristlefrost, but really I'm not very hopeful. So now let's talk about Shadowsight. But before, I just loved how he served the Snow Tuft's characters to get a comeback and some kind of backstory, even if it's not very clear. But I really do hope that we will see Snow Tuft again in next book. Anyway. Shadowsight was like Bristlefrost in this book. He didn't really get a development, not because he did nothing. On the contrary, he did have gone in the Dark Forest, and he did a lot of things in this book. Not as much as Rootspring, but he still did things. But the problem is that his issues are always the same. What should I do so that I can save the clans? And by the way, do you remember in Lost Stars prologue when the character said that Shadowsight's name will be remembered? But what for? I mean, he didn't do anything extraordinary until now, and is growing more into a generic character, like, where did his power goes? Again, maybe last book will settle the things good, but still, I'm not very hopeful. And I'm not the first people to point this out, but where does his friendship with Bristlefrost come from? It sure is great to see them having interaction, but still, they never talked together before, and in this book, it feels like they are some old friends when they're really not. Even Shadowsight and Rootspring relationship hasn't been developed that much, despite all the potential, but again, Warriors wasted it. It's even sadder for Shadowsight, because if we don't change the events in this book, Shadowsight could have had a really good development. For example, he keeps repeating that the Dark Forest can turn a good cat evil, and that you must concentrate on your darkest rogues so that you can get into the forest. But we never really saw that in action. We could have had some scenes with Shadowsight struggling with his dark rogues, like him having flashback of all the things we told him in last book, and he could have been totally angry, and he could even want revenge before realizing what he must do, showing us where royalty lies, and that his clan and duty is more important than his feelings. Or, on the other hand, he could have really want revenge, and that would change too much things for me to keep talking about that in this review. But see, in just a few minutes, I found a character development. Of course, I don't pretend to have the writing skills of the heroines, but they really missed the chance on making Shadowsight good characters and having a real character's development. By the way, it has not much links with what I was talking about, but where is Firesight? Like, where is he? He's mentioned once at the beginning of the book, and we never see him again, despite the fact he was in Brumblestar's body alongside Brumblestars and Ashfur in last book, and that he was the one to save Shadowsight from death in Veil of Shadows. Where is he? Where are you, Firesight? Are you hearing me? Talking about missing cats, where is Spotfur? She was very important in the previous book, and she was, Bristlefrost's friend, even if it hasn't been developed much anyway, and she was expecting Stanley's kid. So where is she? And I know she has a whole novella for her, which I haven't read, but still, she was one of the main characters in Darkness Within, and had a plot toward her kids going on. So maybe this plot has been solved in her novella, I don't know because I haven't read it, but it's not because she had a novella that she mustn't be in the main story anymore. And I think that her absences in the book is mainly due to the fact that Bristlefrost stayed at the Moonpool during all book, and it's the same for all the ThunderClan cast, because seriously, except Bristlefrost and Greystripe, not many ThunderClan's cats have been mentioned in this book. And while we are doing things that doesn't have much link together, let's talk about the Creepy Touch series. I think it's really good to have it, so that we can really feel the Dark Forest and Ashfur. I must admit that I got real chills during Willowshine's death, and when Rootspring tried to free the cat, and when he was cloaked in the mist with Squirrelflight and Willowshine. I like it when Warriors gets creepy, and I hope we'll have more scenes like this in the next book. Okay, now let's come to the final part of the video and the review with Rootspring. First, can we explain me how the heck Willowshine's spirit was able to take Rootspring to the Dark Forest? Like, for Squirrelflight and Ashfur, it was a minimum realist, because Ashfur had a real physical body. But there, Willowshine was a spirit, so how can she take Rootspring, a physically living cat, with her? We absolutely need explanation about all of this. Yeah, because it sure is fun to do theories, but we're going to need some explanations at some times, Erin. But then we discovered that Willowshine was actually under Ashfur's control, which was actually a good plot twist, especially the fact that Ashfur realized that Rootspring is the biggest danger for him. which is, for me, a foreshadowing for a future fight between Ashfur and Rootspring. But for now, let's stay on what happens in this book. So, Rootspring succeeds at saving dear Squirrelflight and Bramblestar, even though he nearly died like twice. And you would expect Bramblestar to be thankful to Rootspring and to send someone to get him back, but no, they decide to not do anything. Which leads Shadowsight and Bristlefrost to go in there to save Rootspring by themselves. Unfortunately, Rootspring already been coaxed by Ashfur, and the book ends on the oncoming fight between Stemleaf and Rootspring, which I hope will give a development to Bristlefrost, but anyway. So, Rootspring has been very well developed in this book, and did amazing things all alone. And the problem is here. It's that he does things all alone and overshadows both Bristlefrost and Shadowsight. Of course, I'm very happy to see that sort of development for Rootspring, who's making feel Rootspring like a shonen protagonist, and I'm very serious about this. I will definitely need to make a video on it. But the problem is that the writers can make this for only one character at once, when they could do it for all three protagonists. Again, maybe I'm wrong, and A Light in the Mist will give extremely good development to Bristlefrost and Shadowsight and Rootspring. But as said before, I'm not very hopeful. Deep inside us, I think we all know this is going to end. Starkland will come back, Shadowsight will be respected and remembered, Ashfur will be defeated, Bristlefrost will have kids from Rootspring, and nothing will change in ThunderClan's leadership, and Mossring will come back in RiverClan so that she can train Moss Frostpaw for the next arc. If all of this happens, then Warriors will surely have wasted all its potential. Cause this arc sure had a lot of potential, and it had such a magnific setup. But I sure do like to imagine a terrible end who will take the rest of potential, and I'll share about it in a future video. About this end, I'll just love to see. So you must have guessed I didn't really like this book. Mainly because of all the wasted potential and absence of development for some characters, and of course some characters being completely forgotten and missing. But I sure did enjoy to think and make this review. And I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll see you next time. Bye!